Welcome, sports fans. I'm Craig Cortello.
And I'm Kyle Cortello.
And we are
the Italian sports guys.
Bada Boom.
Bada Bing.
It's a weekly sports talk show with an Italian New Orleans twist. So grab a beer or a little red vino.
Some pizza pie or some pasta marinara here.
Throw on your favorite sports jersey.
And join us. Why don't you?
All right, Kyle, good to be back with the Italian Sports Guys show, the pre-draft show, back with the ISG Nation, virtual Zoom ISG Nation. And, of course, tonight we have a very special guest, a return guest to the ISG show, a very local hero done well in the sports world. Kyle, give him an intro.
Yeah, this is a dear friend of mine and a competitor. Broke my heart 2 years in a row way back in the day. The all-time winningest quarterback in Brother Martin High School football history, Craig, and a former Tulane running back. He is now the instructor at the Ochsner Football Academy and the owner and founder of the Quarterback Lab. He is a friend of the ISG Nation and a returnee to the show, Mr. Garret Chachere. Garrett, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Really appreciate y'all having me back. Been looking forward to it. And finally, after all my begging, you allowed me to come on. So I appreciate it.
Well, we wanted to let you cut your teeth with the ESPN, Foxes of the world, maybe some local radio. And once we vetted you through those programs, we knew you were ISG worthy. And look, hey, all good things to those who wait, Garrett. It's happening now.
Well, I kept thinking as I would do every interview on television or whatever that just if I can get a little bit better each time, maybe, just maybe I can get on the ISG, network and live up to the standard.
Correct. Congratulations. You've made it.
Yeah, we had our people watching and vetting the whole time. You did well, Coach.
And with their hand out, but that's
good to have you back. Good to have you.
Garrett, I know you've had an illustrious college coaching career. Bring the ISG Nation up to speed on what's happening lately with your academy.
So I was a college football coach for almost 30 years and decided that I did not want to miss my son's senior year at Brother Martin. I was watching his games on Friday nights in hotel rooms between meetings or, on Friday nights in college football, you have a lot of meetings to occupy the players' time, but just to make sure that everybody's on the same page. So it was difficult for me to watch his games on Friday nights and me not be there. So I decided to come back and started doing some work, with quarterbacks, just kind of coaching, fidgeting around, kind of keeping my hands in the game. And one thing led to the other, and I had a couple of great opportunities, work with some great individuals. And Ochsner was looking for someone to run what their idea was, and their idea was the Ochsner Football Academy, and they were looking for the right person to do it. And luckily, the good Lord put me in the right place to be the right person to do that.
Fantastic. Talk about it. Well, just give us an idea who you've been working with, Garrett, and how that's going.
So I work with everyone from middle school age, young men to college. I really enjoy the middle school and the high school and that kind of thing. And I'm fortunate enough, one of my high school pupils was rated the #1 dual threat quarterback in the country by Rivals, and his name is Eli Holstein. And so I'm privileged to work with him and all my high school kids. I have a couple of college guys who are on the depth chart and backup roles at Louisiana Tech and Louisiana UL, which is Eli's brother, Caleb Holstein, and then Chandler Fields at UL. But another young man that I've gotten a chance to work with over the last year is the quarterback at the University of Alabama, or was a quarterback at the University of Alabama, Mac Jones. And so for about a year, I've known Mac and been around him for about 8 to 10 training sessions and film sessions and meals and dinners, lunches, breakfasts. And so, like I said, even though I haven't been coaching, I've been around some really good guys and some high-level guys, and I enjoy working with everyone.
That's great.
Craig, I want to say too, when I did the intro, I skipped over some of my notes. He wasn't toiling around in the middle of nowhere. Some of the schools that he's coached at, everything from Bucknell and Nichols in the earlier days, and cut his teeth there, and was on Chris Elfo's staff coaching linebackers at Tulane. Some really good Tulane teams right there. And and then ended up coaching at the University of Arizona, University of Memphis, and was at Cal Berkeley for a while, and was on the staff when they had Jared Goff, if I'm not mistaken. So
Correct.
when he talks about the quarterbacks that are coming up in this draft, keep in mind that this was a guy who had a front row seat every day in practice, went against him practice every day, a former #1 overall pick in the NFL draft in Jared Goff. So we didn't just go get him off of the scrap heap of coaches. This is a guy with some real credentials here. And again, he's a close friend, so I hate to give him any compliments, but I do have to, as a duty to the show, I have to list your accomplishments.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you start listing mine, it won't take nearly as long, by the way. But go ahead.
No, I've been fortunate to be around some really good quarterbacks along the way. Guys that were drafted in the first round, like a J.P. Losman, a Pat Ramsey, and Jared Goff, obviously #1 overall, and Mac, to the extent I've been around Mac, first rounders. But, the Davis Webbs at Cal, who went in the 4th round, I think it was, to the Giants. And then Nick Foles went in the 3rd round to the Eagles out of Arizona. I've been fortunate to be around some good guys, and so it's been great. But Mac is a special guy. Mac is a guy that if I could pull out my, San Francisco voodoo dolls and stick pins in the guys there, that I would love to. So maybe it would force him to trade to the Saints, so the Saints could get him. But I think he's a wonderful cat and good kid and works hard. And so when I first met him, he was, a year ago, he was, just some guy named Mac Jones that even the people in Alabama didn't want to be their quarterback. They just lost the Iron Bowl, and they all love Tua. And obviously in the last year, things have sure changed for him, So in 2 days, he's going to be in the green room, and he's going to probably hear his name, the 3rd one, come off the board. So it's been quite a year for him and quite a year for me.
Garrett, let me ask you a question. We know it is so hit and miss with quarterbacks, even in the first round, even in the top 10. I think I saw a stat where the only one since 2010 who has started and won a Super Bowl is Patrick Mahomes. And I think of the last 23 drafted in the top 10 picks, I guess Colin Cowherd did an analysis where he thought maybe 6 or 7 of those guys were guys that their teams would look back and say, yes, we made a great pick there. So tell me, when you're looking at a guy that's projecting high in the draft, what are the things you really look for that are going to take them from just being a college quarterback to one who can really succeed, the little nuances that help them succeed in the NFL?
I think there's a couple of things. I think the scheme that he was presented in college, I think his overall aptitude for the game, to see things 3-dimensionally in layers when you're out there on the field, under coverage and over coverage, and so to speak, and be able to kind of see that. But just on plain and basic things that you asked about as far as drafting, the teams are being drafted, I think the #1 thing is who drafts you, what kind of organization drafts you. As when the move was made with Mac by the 49ers, that happened on one day, and I got to Tuscaloosa the next day, so it was still hot, and we were talking about it. And it's one of those things about him. If San Francisco drafts Mac, it'll be great because you got a really good team, really good organization that's drafting high. Usually you have to wait to get in 25, 26, 27, 20, 19 to have a really sound organization, sound coaching, sound and ownership, and then but you have to usually drop, so to speak. It's kind of the Aaron Rodgers thing.
Right.
But I think for him to have an organization like that to pop up to the front and give him a chance to go to a great organization, that gives you a leg up. If you go to an organization like the Steelers or people like San Francisco lately, just people that have always won, I think you got a heck of a chance. And then I think, do you have weapons around you, and do you have people to protect you, which usually the teams that are drafting later in the round do, because they're good.
Yeah.
That's it. So I think that has a lot to do with it. And then if you have a winning culture, there's a chance quarterback's going to be successful early, but it's a crapshoot. It's a definite crapshoot because, as much as people, want to go ahead and kind of dissect every first round quarterback, there's third rounders, fourth rounders, fifth rounders, sixth rounders that are winning championships. You know what I mean? And so it's a very inexact science. And sometimes, you can talk yourself out of things or talk yourself into things and not go back and just look at the film. You know what I mean? And how was your personal workout with him and all those kind of things. So.
Yeah. All right, we'll get into some of the details of the draft, but let's start with Kyle. We'll start with you and looking at some of the projections. You talked about guys who are, these teams that draft later, they're usually the better teams. Talk about some guys you think are undervalued in this draft that may, perhaps drop down to those kind of spots that may be a bargain pickup for some team.
For me, Craig, I've thought this for 2 years. I have a very good friend of mine back in the Destin area who's a Alabama diehard, and when I spend so much time over there, we'd all get together as a group. It's 4 SEC guys, a couple LSU guys, an Auburn guy, an Alabama guy. And I would tell the Alabama guy for the last 3 years, and I text him during the games now back here, Najee Harris is the best player on that football team. I've said that for 2 years. I think Tua Tagovailoa was a fantastic college quarterback. The receivers they had, my goodness, Jerry Jeudy, Ruggs, Jalen Waddle now, of course, Devontae Smith with such a great year. If I'm leaving one of those guys out, forgive me. But I thought that with all that talent around, that the best player on that team the last 2 years to me, the player that I feared the most as not being an Alabama fan when they played LSU, was Najee Harris. I thought he was so physically imposing and gifted. And for a big guy, he wasn't just this straight ahead, kind of let me beat you to the corner because I'm big and fast, and if I don't beat you, run through your tackle. I thought he really showed patience. I thought he showed great vision. I thought he caught the ball pretty well out of the backfield. But when you're the size this guy is, and you go downfield and you jump over a corner, or more than once, to me, that's a special kind of cat. And I think that for me, he is the most undervalued player in this draft. And that's projected, or that's on the mocks and where they project him to go. Nobody's taking running backs in those top few picks anymore. It's just not happening these days. But most of the draft picks I see, the mocks I see, have in between, is the earliest I've seen it is like 18 or 19, and then some have him going all the way to the end of the first round. I don't think he makes it past Pittsburgh, and that's at 24. And I think he fits what they used to do and what they want to do and what they like to do a whole hell of a lot. They've traditionally been a physical football team, and when you mix in enough skilled speed players with that, that's when they kind of catch lightning in the bottle in Pittsburgh. And I think that he's the type of guy that gives them someone at the running back position that they can hang their hat on, at least for the first, if he's a first rounder, of course, 5 years of his contract. You can't say things about 10 years anymore in this league. Biggest mistake people make when analyzing. I think Najee Harris is the most undervalued player because wherever he goes, he's going to command the football and he's going to produce. I think he's that kind of player. I really do. Also, another very undervalued player I found just digging through it. This is a guy they're picking. A lot of mocks have him. No mocks I've seen him have him in the first round. Is the inside linebacker out of Kentucky named Jamin Davis. The reason for that might be because he only started for 1 year. But this is a tall, rangy player, really fast guy. And again, a 1 year starter, but boy, he really performed this past season. 100 plus tackles, 3 interceptions, one that he returned for a pick 6. But linebackers these days, they can run left to right and all that stuff. You kind of see the fast ones more on the outside. I think this guy projects as a Mike linebacker, a weak side linebacker in the NFL, who's going to make plays early, and as he grows into the position, be a more consistent kind of, I won't say all pro, but a Pro Bowl type performer. I think I'd love to see him fall far enough to where the Saints can grab him in the second round. But Jamin Davis from Kentucky is my other guy.
Yeah. How about you, Garrett? Who's on your board?
Well, unfortunately, I know I'd like to be a little bit more diverse with it, but I totally agree with the Najee Harris predict. I think Najee, depending on where he goes, just as I said, as far as teams, but I think he's going to be the rookie of the year. I think that he's going to go late to a good team, and he can run, and he can pass protect, and he can catch the ball, and he can be a 3-down back for someone. And I think I think he's totally undervalued. But Now, again, some of the guys that we're mentioning today and we are going to mention, I'm a little biased because I've been knowing Najee since he was, in high school, and, just some good looking young kid that you go, wow, who is that? Right. And so I wish the best for him, but he's my guy who I think has, been undervalued all year, really, not just here in the draft, but all year. But I think he's going to make such a big impact that he's going to do everything, that when we used to think about running backs and what running backs could bring to a program or bring to a team when we were coming up, when running backs were always going to win the Heisman and be the first round pick. I think he's going to bring kind of that cachet back to the running back position. So he's without a doubt my most undervalued player.
Okay.
Garrett, quick question for you. Having been around him, in a nutshell, what kind of person is he? And the fact that he wasn't always the focal point of Alabama's offense will really help. It with all running backs, that's the case. There's a lot more tread left on the tire, so to speak, that when they come into the NFL, that part of it's a good thing. But what kind of person is somebody who drafts Najee Harris getting?
Najee's a great kid. I mean, he's always smiling, always laughing. I mean, he's a little different. He's from California, so his interests, his thoughts, the things he likes to talk about are going to be a little bit different. But you appreciate that when you talk to him, because you can tell that he's got a brain inside, and the things that he wants to talk about aren't something that, with the stereotypical dumb jock type of topics. So he's a very smart person, very kind, very generous. And I know you've seen all the things on TV about him and the little boy, and that's him. But I wish the best of him for him. He's a good person. His family, good people. I know his mom. I know everybody from recruiting him. But they're going to get a heck of a guy that it won't embarrass him. They're going to get a heck of a guy that's going to do the right thing by his teammates, by the organization, and by the fans of the city that he goes to. And I think he's going to be a fan favorite, and someone that probably pretty soon after that will be a favorite on Madison Avenue as far as advertisers because of that.
All right, folks, we've got about a minute left before the break. Give us very quickly kind of an overvalue pick. Somebody you think maybe rated high in the mock draft, but you think may drop down.
For me, this was a tough one because I think the kid's been a dynamic football player and he's a Louisiana native. I think Devontae Smith, if he goes anywhere from 9 or above, the Cowboys aren't taking him at 10, although strange things have happened. This is not a knock on his production, not a knock on the type of person. I think he's a really good kid. I just don't know if he can impact the game on a pro level as a top 10 overall pick like he did on the college level. I know it's a generic statement. Who really impacts it like on pro like they do in college? But I think you're looking for more out of him. I think, he's going to be better than, going to have a more accomplished career than Peter Warrick, but I don't know if it's going to be a whole lot more than that. Just from a simple fact that he's so small. He's 165 pounds soaking wet. So after a while, those hits take their toll.
How about you, Garrett? What do you think?
Well, I've got two. I've got Jason Awe. I think that's how you pronounce his name, from Penn State. He's an athletic freak, and he's gonna. Let me just say this to you: when guys are workout warriors and combine phenoms, but it doesn't show up with production on the field during the time, I think that you need to run as fast as you can away from them. The name Mike Mamula, amongst many, many others over the years. But I think Jason Awe is going to impress people with the look test. As someone once told me, you don't want him coming to your house delivering pizza to you when you don't want your wife answering the door if he's your pizza man, because I'm sure his body, it looks like, Hercules. But he, in my opinion, I think it's about playing. He doesn't make a lot of plays, and somebody's going to make a bad mistake drafting him in the first round. And then another overvalued player, and this is even for mid to late rounds, in my opinion, is Kellen Mond. I think he's going to go higher